In this module, we're calling it Life in the LDS Church, and what we're going to do is explore the core relationships that a person experiences as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to understand what life as a Mormon is like. And we're going to begin with the relationship a person has with the church itself. And so I want you to understand, first of all, the centrality of the church in people's lives. Mormons simply call it the church, as if it's the only one. That's a shorthand for the entire history, doctrine, organizational structure, all the practices of the church itself. Mormons don't just go to church, but for the active LDS person, the church is central to every aspect of their lives. They're immensely dedicated to the church. They have made a significant investment of time, money, loyalty, energy in the life of the church, because faithful Latter-day Saints believe that the church is not just another denomination, but it's actually the one true and living church on the face of the earth. It's the very church that Jesus himself originally founded. And so, as a result then, the LDS Church to them is the only vehicle through which salvation can ever really be achieved. Without its teachings, its ordinances, and its authority, no one could ever possibly make it to the highest level of heaven. Now let's talk for a moment about the institutional church. The LDS Church has about 6.5 million members in the United States. That's about 2% of the population of America. To give you a frame of reference, that's very similar to the Jewish population in America, about 2%. And the church's most local unit of organization is called the ward. The ward is a local congregation of roughly 300 individuals. In Utah, the ward may comprise a few neighborhoods, and outside of Utah, it might be an entire town or city. When there are too few members to sustain the leadership structure of a ward, then the members are organized into what they call branches. Now, the next layer up in organization from the ward is called a stake. A stake consists of between 5 and 12 wards. It has its own governing structure, and as you go up the hierarchy, a group of stakes is called an area. It's led by an area presidency, and the church is led from Salt Lake City by a large staff of administrators. At the top of that hierarchy are a group of men called the general authorities. So let me explain the church's leadership hierarchy. The LDS Church, they believe that their church is led actually by living prophets who speak and act for God. The supreme leader is known as the president of the church. Sometimes he's simply known as the prophet. He's assisted by 2 counselors, and together these 3 men make up the first presidency. Now, the policy of the church at large is set by a group called the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. And these 12 men, like the president, hold their positions for life. And so in practice, the LDS Church is actually a gerontocracy ruled by the elderly, because then when the church president dies, it automatically, the next president, the succession falls to the next longest tenured member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. And so these men are held in high esteem by church members. They revere their leaders, the prophets and apostles. Often Mormons decorate their homes with the picture of the most current prophet and president of the church. People have they revere these personal encounters that they might have had with these general authorities. If they've had a chance to shake the prophet's hand or to meet an apostle, those are especially holy moments for them. Now, other general authorities at the next layer down include several quorums of the 70, they're called, and they implement church policy worldwide as regional leaders. There's a group called the presiding bishopric that oversees the temporal affairs or the material concerns of the church. There are then the general auxiliaries. These are specialized ministries for men, for women, for children, and for teens. And under the general authorities, the church is governed by a whole army, a large network of managers and career bureaucrats. Now, at the heart of this is the priesthood, the church's priesthood. Ultimately, the LDS Church is administered by the power of priesthood. Mormons consider priesthood to be the authority to act in God's name on the earth, and every worthy male member can receive some level of priesthood authority in this life, which is conveyed to them by the laying on of hands by another priesthood holder appointed by the church. Without the priesthood, they would say that the ordinances that are required for salvation are not valid, And the keys required to govern God's church are also associated with the priesthood. Now let's think about for a moment about how your rank and file members experience the LDS Church. Daily life in Mormonism is mediated largely through the local ward. We'll talk about that in the next segment. But much of LDS life is also experienced in relation to the church as a whole. For example, the church holds general conference every spring and fall. Local ward meetings are canceled so that members can participate. They can watch it on TV or through a satellite feed, or in some rare cases they can actually attend general conference. Many young adults will attend a church-owned university or college like Brigham Young University or the LDS Business College. The church has an educational system that runs classes for high school and college students, typically at a building that's adjacent to a public school. High school students attend what's called seminary, and college students go to the LDS Institute of Religion. And then members will participate in church-sponsored events at the stake or the regional level. Every stake, for example, has regular stake conferences, which supersede the ward meetings on that particular Sunday. The church as a whole offers regional firesides. Those are talks by LDS leaders outside of the weekly ward meetings. They may be offered in large arena-type venues. And Brigham Young University offers a program for young people called Especially for Youth, or EFY, at different sites around the world. EFY is a week-long, youth-oriented summer seminar focusing on teaching the principles of the church to teens. And then faithful members will likely subscribe to one or more of the church's magazines. They publish the Ensign for adults, the New Era for teens, the Friend for children. Or they'll use the resources of the church's websites like churchofjesuschrist.org. And then there's LDS Welfare Services that provides material help for people during times of need, and many church members will interact with welfare services either as a volunteer or as a recipient. And so all of these activities provide personal enrichment and identity formation for Mormons above and beyond their relationship with their local ward and their local stake.